Anywho, so this is just a long, drawn-out THORnews business update. So yeah, it was like after working 5 straight weeks, 12 to 16-hour days, I wake up and the Google YouTube is literally like, hey, by the way, here's what we're going to do. We're going to flag every video you have and say that it may not be suitable for advertisers. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually run ads on your videos, but then while it's flagged as not suitable, we're not going to have to pay you for that period of time. So we're going to take the revenue from the work you did under the guise of it may not be suitable for advertisers. And then once the 48-hour period is over, when most of the views happen, we're probably going to release it and say that, yeah, it's suitable. So we are going to take the bulk of earnings from all your hard work. And since we're a giant tech monopoly, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like Vader. It's like this deal just keeps getting worse. I don't know if you remember, but in early November before the election, I said regardless of who wins, I guarantee you YouTube is going to do everything it can to make being in the truth community harder. And hey, I was right again. Alright y'all, it is that time of the month where I get panicky monetary syndrome. And this THORnews shareholder report is a bit of a downer, because from my assessment of the last 5 weeks, I have literally put my foot to the floor and the pedal to the metal. I made 70 videos in 5 weeks, which is 2 a day. 90% of them are probably about weather, and my style is to warn everybody about what is probably going to happen and then worst case scenarios and get people to plan and prepare for that. And if you go back to the almost 5-year history of THORnews, when I started here, it was all fun and games, telling silly jokes about the silly stories space agencies would tell us. And then during the grand Comet Ison escapade, I encountered my own personal cognitive dissonance, where I was like, oh my god, this is all really horribly screwed up. Around that time, I focused, really changed from silly stories to solar activity. And it was clear to me from watching the daily NASA satellite cameras and watching the sun with my own eyes that the sun was undergoing some pretty radical changes and acting in ways I don't think she's ever acted before in modern history. And then from that, it turned into holy crud, unholy crap. The weather is about to become a bit unhinged. And then to start 2017, I was on full alert at the beginning of the year. I was saying, I do believe we're going to see $1 trillion worth of severe weather and flooding damage. And months before, we got hit by 2 hurricanes, technically 3 because Puerto Rico is in the United States. I predicted we would get hit by 2 or more hurricanes. And it's my gut feeling that before the end of November, we will get hit by at least 1 more. I don't know if it'll be a hurricane or a tropical storm, but it'll probably do some damage. I'm going to tell a little story. It's a THORnews tall tale. After been covering the weather obsessively since the 22nd of August, it's like energy that builds up inside of me and emotion. And after watching Harvey, being in DFW and texting 7 of my friends every 6 to 12 hours saying, are you okay? Is everything fine? And then next came Irma. Leading up to Maria, I don't know, I think I couldn't take my eyes off Maria for 3 days. So I went to a bar, I drank way too much beer, and the pressure was getting to me. So I would burst out crying in the middle of a bar. And at one point, there was a police officer standing over me watching me cry. And I was like, it's okay, dude. The hurricanes are getting to me. He was like, that's cool, dude. Stay cool. DJ that night was great. And then there's this song that came on from Puerto Ricans. And so I got so mad, so upset, and I couldn't handle watching Maria. Going to New York, I just imagined punching Maria 100 times. I tried one-in punches. I tried roundhouse punches. I tried every punch I could think of imagination-wise. When I woke up the next day, it looked like there was a giant fist hole in Maria. Now, I'm not taking credit. I'm not saying that happened. I'm not saying that I really landed punches on a giant hurricane. But it sure looked like it. And so I felt good when I woke up. So there you go. That was a THORnews tall tale. Anyway, so this is the report. It is the end of September. I do have money to pay rent on the 3rd. But after that, I don't have a whole lot of spending money. I have a doctor's appointment on the 10th. It's $150. Medicine, $70. And technically, I've never really liked the whole business model that I've set up at THORnews. One of my least favorite things in the world is asking other people for money. Under this business model where THORnews is a publicly funded YouTube channel, I have to ask you guys for money at least once a month. Usually comes out to be about 3 or 4 times a month, which allows, if I'm dating a woman, which I'm not right now, any guys around her to say, oh yeah, you're dating a beggar, or people in my own life, family, to be like, oh, you're just a beggar selling people conspiracy theories. So yeah, I recognize it's a crappy model all the way around. And so at the moment, I am pretty much for the majority of the year, I've been the only person handling all of the THORnews business. And that what I'm really good at is the creative stuff, making videos, making music, making art. And I'm really bad at business. And well, just like I say, we have to learn to adapt and adjust. I'm definitely going to have to adapt and adjust. And so I'm definitely taking the next week out to wrap up all loose ends. Like, I've got 3 guys who paid me $200 a long time ago to make videos they requested. And not only was that cool, the amount of patient they've been with me up to this point has been amazingly cool. I'd like to think that they can see that, especially for the last 7 weeks and technically the whole year, I could kind of see this point we're at now. I could see that 7, 8, 9 months ago. So I was doing what I can to prepare for it. And even now, I felt, looking back, I could have done a whole lot more. I could have done it better. There were a lot of mistakes I made. And from the last fundraiser I had, I still owe like 22 people t-shirts. And that thing's probably over a year old. And 95% of them have been super cool and understanding. And so for the next week, I'm going to do everything I can. And my main focus is going to be on fulfilling all the obligations that I have and catching up to speed on all the things that I owe people. And that how I structured the last fundraiser, even though I hadn't picked designs, I said there would be 4 t-shirts. Push the Button Baby, THORnews, Asteroid Fight Club, and Lightning Amendment, and maybe even Astonishers. I don't know. And so hopefully as a way to make up for people I was late on the old t-shirts, if you ordered 1, you can have 2. I can send you 2 of any of the 5. And then I think when I get 5 t-shirts designed, and I've been working on the designs or trying to pick the design the whole time. I'm super big on quality control. I think that was the first words my mom and dad made me say when I was a little baby. Like, they just kept saying, say quality control, say quality control. And I was like, quality control. And that, to me, a t-shirt's a big deal. It's like, it's more than just a shirt, you know? So I'm extremely proud of the very first 2 shirts I did. And I think they look badass whenever I wear them, or whenever people send me pictures of them wearing them. They're cool t-shirts, man. Like, even if THORnews wasn't a thing, the THORnews shirts are standalone cool. And so I've got a bunch of designs. And I can't even tell you how much I pulled my hair out over Hit the Button Baby. It's a t-shirt. Like, my mom, when I was home, she's literally like, it doesn't have to be the greatest thing ever. Just pick 1, pick 2, and go. Move. I'm like, okay, you know. So, you know, we all have strengths and weaknesses. So my brain can logjam. I remember I went through a period like 2, 3 years ago where I could sit there for 2 hours trying to figure out what I wanted to eat. Like, did I want chicken strips? Did I want a hamburger? Did I want chicken strips? Did I want a hamburger? And I'm like, this is so insane. Just pick 1 and go, you know? And so I don't do that with food anymore. Unfortunately, that's how it's been with t-shirts. And not having a second person be able to help me give me a little push. Just like, yeah, just pick that 1 and go. So what I'm saying is, we got a week or so, asterisk, before the hurricane shit gets real weird again. Though, it's like the video I put up yesterday. Coda. That's my way of talking to y'all about volcanoes. Man, they're popping off all over like crazy. You know, volcano videos are weird because I like to make videos about things you can prepare and plan and avoid. And dude, if a giant super volcano is going to pop off, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. So, you know, yeah. Even though the hurricane's calmed down a bit, I still think it's just going to keep getting weirder until it doesn't. And now after a hurricane hit Houston and a hurricane hit Florida, after a hurricane hit South Texas and Houston, and a hurricane hit Florida, and a hurricane has wiped out Puerto Rico, you know, it even changes the dynamic of when I say, hey, I depend on y'all for donations. I depend on y'all to keep doing this. And so I don't know, man, ma'am, you know, after literally giving it all I got, busted my ass, working a lot of sleepless nights, and having a lot of sleepless nights, it just feels weird to be this broke and to have nothing to show for it. You know, like over that period of time, where I'm putting in 100-hour work weeks. You know, even if it was a $7 an hour job, I've been paid $3,000, you know. But on that same note, we have a mutual agreement. So as long as y'all keep putting me in a position to do this, I will do this. I love making videos. I love helping. But if we get to a point to where y'all can't afford to donate to keep me up and running, then, you know, I'm totally okay with going and getting a job, a quote unquote real job. You know, I worked from the time I was 15 up until about 2 years ago. I mean, technically to me, like I said, making videos for anywhere from 8 to 16 hours a day, sometimes 30 hours straight. That is work. That's a job. It just doesn't pay shit. It's a serious job, except they get paid a whole lot less than if I was working a real job. And I get a whole lot more shit, and I have to deal with a whole lot more shit from people, whether it be trolls online or people who visit me in person. And over my 5 years of THORnews, yes, I've been visited out and about by some of the richest people on Earth. I've been visited by space agencies. I've been visited by defense contractors. I've been visited by people who work for the Federal Reserve. I've been visited by people who work for the Treasury. I've been visited by technology giant company representatives. I'm sure they were all unofficial visits. They knew who I was, where I was at, and they seemed to have a specific message. Now, all their messages definitely were not unified. Did I add big oil people? Yeah, they're obsessed with me, and apparently they're very unhappy. Oh, God. Anyway, but at some point in a logical progression, it seemed like we really need to switch from petroleum to hemp oil. And so, they've had 30, 20, 10 years to get in position for that. So they seem just like everybody else. It's like, no, we don't want to change. We want it to stay the exact same. And we'll do whatever we can to make sure that there is no progression. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying it's a general feel that I get. I'm like, well, that's going to lead to total disaster. All right. So, like I said, it's just that time of the month. And I super appreciate everyone who has contributed through money or support or love or prayer, and I recognize the majority of the truth community is pretty broke most of the time. So it's a weird time, and I'm just doing what I can to adjust. And I appreciate y'all. And if you would like to contribute to THORnews, I would really appreciate it. And over the course of the next week, I will get out all thank you letters to everyone who's donated. Here's another weird story. So for a while, I was doing what I could to write out a thank you email to each person that donated. And then after I'd send out like 8, I would get 1 or 2 responses back. And then it was my own paranoid personal theory. They were jamming up either my email to the people I'd emailed or the response back to me. Because it just seemed like if I was sending out 8 thank you emails, I would get a higher response of, hey, great to hear from you. Keep up the great work. But the response level overall, over like that month period, was really low. And so I started getting just frustrated. Like, I don't even know if these people are getting these emails. Because, from what I've shown you, YouTube's been sticking a boot in my ass since 2013. I've claimed I'm one of the most censored people on all of YouTube for a while. And so now that they're literally flagging everything every day, the idea that they are anti-truth community, it seems like there's a lot of evidence to back that up. They have a specific narrative they want to push, and they push it. And they are not friendly to anyone who goes outside their narrative. Alright, so that's that. Hopefully things will get better. I got all my t-shirts chosen, printed. I tried to work with 2 different people on getting a website up so I could have my own little store to sell my t-shirts. That's fallen apart each time. And I've always wanted to do an art sale because I've got some pretty good pieces of art that I think are amazing. But once again, I feel like I would need a website to do that. Okay. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging around. And I would like to keep doing this. It is what I love. I'd like to not be so doom-centric. But hey, that's the way the world is now. So there you go. God bless everyone. Talk to y'all soon. And my friend's band is playing tonight, so I think I'm going to go see him. Apollo said if I came out, he'd pick up my beers. As long as I can find a place to park for free, it should be a pretty cheap and enjoyable night out. Hopefully the city will be good to me. Hopefully you guys have a great weekend too. Summer's over. I guess I have to do a whole fall video on what to expect. Sweet. Anyway, God bless everyone. Peace out. Stay cool.